Welcome to the program Agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, and you are watching us via Cignal TV, channels 8, and for high definition television, you can watch us on channel 250. You can also watch us via facebook.com/onenewsph, and you can also watch on YouTube. Just enter One News PH. And if you have downloaded the Signal Play app, you can watch us there as well. And thank you to PLDT Home Fiber Internet for their support. We are still broadcasting from Lipa City, Batangas, and today is June 15, 2021. It's a Tuesday. And we are going to have a number of guests today to talk about political developments as well as the push for, if I'm not mistaken, the push for the removal of the face shield. Because as it turns out, we are the only or one of the few countries or the only country that is really implementing as a policy the use of face shield. What I'd like to really find out is who is the importer of face shields in the Philippines and how did we end up making that a national policy. In any case, let's go to the front page of the Philippine Star and see what's on the headline. Okay, there we go. The main headline is the National Capital Region Plus or NCR Plus still under general community quarantine until June 30. And Mayor Sara Duterte to Vice President Lenny, don't meddle in Davao COVID situation. Very interesting. Some people seem to forget their positions in life, the official positions. A mayor castigating the vice president. Dumaguete, area of most serious concern outside the National Capital Region, according to Okta. COVID-19 cases, new cases, 6,426, if I'm not mistaken. Metro Manila's new curfew is now from midnight to 4 a.m. And on the lower part of the front page of the Philippine Star, we have Department of Finance open to amending tax code for private schools. Just a point of clarification there. If it's a law, it's not a matter of choice. PNP raises alert on digital vote buying in 2022. Maybe PNP should raise the alert regarding EPAL, SAPALs, and electioneering candidates, both national and local. Suspension of VFA and extended. So I don't really know how to figure that out. Is it extended, the VFA extended, or is it suspended? Ay nako. And Cebu ordered to follow IATF protocols for returning overseas Filipinos. Okay, let's now go to the stories behind the headlines. The Okta Research Group has identified Dumaguete City as the area of most serious concern. This after the city posted a 129% growth rate in COVID-19 cases in 1 week. In its latest report, Okta said the city averaged 95 new daily cases last week, more than double its previous average of 42 daily cases. And I think what adds to that is the fact that Dumaguete City is like a melting pot. There's a big university there, and then there are people coming in from different provinces, different islands. So unless they really shut down the border, it's going to be difficult for the city of Dumaguete. We've been there several times. It's a beautiful city, beautiful people, nice, quaint, and just wonderful. And also a haven for a lot of foreign retirees. So we wish the people of Dumaguete relief from this and hope they can figure out the solution soon. Meanwhile, for us here in Metro Manila, the NCR Plus is still under general community quarantine. Metro Manila and the province of Bulacan will be under GCQ with some restrictions, while Cavite, Laguna, and Rizal will have heightened restrictions. I asked our executive producer to kindly explain this to me, and he gave me a very puzzled look. I guess everyone is puzzled already because, as some foreign travel agents have said, it is so difficult to make plans or arrangements for the Philippines because our restrictions, our quarantine rules change by the day. Meanwhile, speaking of changes, starting today, the mayors of Metro Manila have agreed to implement a new curfew of 12 a.m. or midnight until 4 a.m. The previous curfew was 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. So, ayan po, no, pinaikse ang curfew in Metro Manila, so, which is primarily to help the restaurant industry, the food and beverage industry, because they say the 10 o'clock curfew kind of eats up on their potential income business for evening diners. Yung mga pwede bang mag-dinner. And it's true, even here in Lipa City, many of us are hesitant to have dinner outside because, the most inconvenient thing is to have dinner. Magdi-dinner ka ng mga alas 6, tas nagmamadali ka kasi baka ma-curfew ka. Or ewan ko, alam ko yung curfew dito medyo mabagsik din. Okay, now quote of the day. Today's quotation comes from the book of Jeremiah in the Bible, chapter 17, verses 5 and 7. I'll repeat that because you should really read it. Jeremiah chapter 17, verses 5 and 7. This is what the Lord says. Cursed, sinumpa, tinakwil. Cursed is the one who trusts in man. Yung mga umaasa sa tao, kapwa-tao, who draws strength from mere flesh and whose heart turns away from the Lord. Yung pong hinahanap ang lakas nila, ang sigla nila sa kanilang mga bossing, mga best friend, mga love nila, and nakakalimutan si Lord. But blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in Him. Alam niyo po, we have reached a point in our human history, our Philippine history, where we have copied the Israelites in the olden days, where they did not want to keep listening to a holy man, a prophet, or to the word of God. And they asked the prophet, Elijah, I think, and said, give us a king like all the other countries. And now, what happened was he said, well, if you do that, be prepared to pay the cost. And God said, they're not disowning you, Elijah. They're disowning me, God said. So anyway, I'm not preaching. This is not a religious program, but it's connected to what we're going to talk about now because if you were watching the program yesterday, UP Professor Clarita Carlos expressed disappointment with Isambayan's list of bets for the 2022 elections. In our interview with her yesterday, Carlos even called Isambayan's lineup, sorry po, panis, stale, boring, makes her yawn. And it's a sentiment expressed by many political analysts, political science professors, and politicians. Now, to get their reaction on this, we have with us Isambayan convenor and former Education Secretary, Brother Armin Luistro, Brother Armin, good morning to the program.
Good morning, Cito. Good morning to Agenda viewers.
Alam mo, brother, kasi I have to be honest, yung aking executive producer at saka yung team agenda, mas fair pa nga kaysa sa akin eh. Kasi sila nagsabi, Kuyang, let's get Brother Armin so they can react naman kasi bugbog naman sila para makasagot sila kung anong nangyari. Brother Armin, I'm not against sambayan ha. Alam mo naman where my heart is. Kanya lang, parang they kind of taught me a lesson about, about balance and fairness. So to be balanced and to be fair, please air your reaction, defense, or sentimento.
Hindi naman. I think people immediately look at Isang Bayan as a political party. The reality is, Isang Bayan is a coalition and it's a wide coalition. So the process is evolving. I will have to admit that. And the way to come up with the list, even the list of our nominees, is a long process. No? So what was revealed on June 12 was actually the list of nominees that were submitted by the organizations. These were not yet vetted by the convenors definitively because there was an initial vetting, pero hindi pa ito yung final list. In fact, the list is very, very much open for other names. And alam mo naman, Sito, sa Pilipinas, yung mga unang naglalabas ng kanilang intensyon na tumakbo, medyo very, very cautious because some people think it may still be too early. And secondly, I think they're looking at sino bang papatakboy ng kabila. So there's a lot of calibration going on.
Okay. Now, let me just get straight to the point, Brother Armin. And I have to say, this is more my sentiment than public sentiment, I think, no? But, forgive me, I will just go to confession later. Put your money where your mouth is. Mauna ka. Yun yung mga attitude ng Pilipino, di ba? O sige, tara, makipag-away tayo, lumaban tayo. Mauna ka. I was, looking at the list of nominees, and then I saw a profile or group photo of the convenors. Sabi ko, pambira, bakit pa kayo lalayo? Hindi yung convenor na lang ang mga tumakbo. And I said that to former Justice, Associate Justice Antonio Carpio. I would say it to you because, if you want to talk about morality, I don't think anyone can challenge your integrity, Brother Armin. I think former Justice Carpio has a record of integrity and competence. His sister, Conchita Carpio Morales, has the same record, and so on and so forth. So parang sa akin, parang baka kung nilagay nyo na lang yung mga pangalan nyo doon, baka medyo nataranta pa yung kalaban ninyo.
Well, I think this is partly when you look at the bigger yung taong bayan, no? At saka yung ano yung ating political system, no? Alam mo, the truth is it's very, very difficult for good people and good CEOs to actually run for public office. And that's because yung ating electorate and the system itself is biased towards popularity, may pangalan ka. The winnability issue always comes to question, di ba? Ito, magaling, pwede patakbuhin. Palagi tinatanong, teka muna, makakakuha ba ito ng mga boto? And in Isang Bayan, ito yung talagang struggle namin because some of the very good people are really not very, very cautious and would not want to even enter into politics because they know the cost, and I'm even talking of financial cost of running. Ang isang tanong sa aming sarili is, do we join this race when from the very beginning the structure and our electoral process is such that mahirap talagang mag-field ng magaling na kandidato na walang pera?
Mhm. But then, brother Armin, it has been mentioned by a number of people that, and particularly Vice President Leni Robredo, she said that perhaps what we should have started to do, or we should have started on, you, the one isang bayan, is to understand why Filipinos voted for the likes of Duterte, for the likes of Joseph Estrada, for the likes of Cory Aquino. I mean, with Cory Aquino, we had a common enemy, and my enemy's enemy, di ba, ika nga. So, is my best friend. But with Joseph Estrada, it was the poor who got left out during the Ramos administration. Ramos got voted in because Cory may have given us democracy, but her cabinet or her administration lacked sorely in competency and in programs. With Duterte, it was the high criminality in the Philippines more than anything. And I was wondering, why didn't Isang Bayan do as Leni Robredo was suggesting, understanding what drives or motivates Filipinos to choose their candidates and their presidents, and also how come you guys did not remind the Filipino people of the consequences of their choice or choices?
Well, hindi naman sa hindi ginawa. Uh, um, I think even those of us who come from academe find it a little difficult to understand populist leaders that are emerging today, not only in the Philippines but in the world.
Mhm.
Parang there is a sudden wave na hindi natin masyadong maintindihan. And in fact, Sito, I think in our dialogues with some of the nominees that surfaced,
Mhm.
sabi nga nila, mahirap maintindihan kung magdedeklara ka ngayon, tapos in the time of the pandemic, because in the minds of people, yung gutom at saka yung takot sa pandemic ang nasa isip nila. And
Mm.
some of them actually told us, I have intentions to run, kaya lang parang hindi magandang timing ngayon, no?
Mhm.
Na magsasabi ka ng politika. At the same time, you realize that there are also itong social media, hindi rin masyado maintindihan to ng even the psychologists how powerful they're able to influence the decisions of people. No? So, well, yung isang bayan, we're listening to the different surveys. Ang hirap isipin na yung survey ay tama. Pero, yun yung numero eh. Uh, so to be honest, there are so many attempts to try to understand the electorate and the political system now, except there are still many basic questions hindi namin pa rin maintindihan. But the fact is, people, and to be very honest, people still look at strong leaders, populist leaders, and minsan giving up their rights and their responsibility to think for themselves. Medyo bagong phenomenon to. Baka kailangan pag-aralan pa ng mas malalim.
Okay, now, it has been said by the political scientists, professors, analysts, na perhaps isang bayan, and I'm not espousing it, honestly, no? But that perhaps isang bayan should consider being in bed with the devil or making compromises with the, kumbaga, no, better the devil I can make a deal with than the devil I would rather send to hell. What is the reaction of isang bayan to that?
From the very beginning, isang bayan wanted to open wide its tents to bring in all voices, no? And you'll see that even among the conveners, part of the dynamics and why the process is a little convoluted is because talaga namang different persuasions and different faiths. Pero we agreed on some very basic principles. In the past, we called it the knockdown issues. Eh. So, sa amin, ano ba yun? Well, the West Philippine Sea is ours. We've spoken about extrajudicial killing and the value of life. We've spoken about the rule of law. Top three to. These are the top three issues that we said, kahit ano pang ideology, these are things that as Filipinos we truly, truly value. So for us, we open wide the tent. There is another view, I must say, Cito, that looks at this inclusion as, wag naman yung tainted. At this stage, we follow the biblical dictum, let the grass grow and the weeds together with the wheat, because it may not be time to do the cleansing yet. But maybe I think one of the hopes of Isang Bayan is that by bringing these issues out, no, and not really too much on the personalities muna. What are the main issues against the administration that we stand against? No? Then hopefully the electorate will be able to at least discuss what their thoughts are and what value systems must be used to select their leaders.
Yeah, I mean, I would use an analogy, the vaccination and COVID-19. It seems that, and forgive me for saying this, but it seems the perspective of Isambayan is strictly NCR plus, and the problem is the whole of the Philippines. And isn't it a fact na medyo baka naging premature naman yung pagpili? Was it too premature to suggest candidates instead of address issues first?
Well, ito malaking debate, Sito. Even
Go ahead, Brother Armin. We need to educate people.
Even with if you sit down with candidates, I think they are really struggling about when is the right timing for me to come out publicly. And even among the 6 candidates that surfaced, whose names surfaced, some of them, I think, really have intentions to run, but they are playing it coy at this stage because there's always this sword of Damocles that says, if you say so at the wrong time, patay ka. And I think there is some wisdom to that. Ang problema, Sito, namin sa Isang Bayan is hindi kami political party na may makinarya na at saka meron ng pondo na pwedeng sumporta sa mga tatakbo. No? So, kailangan ng Isang Bayan ng a little lead time. So, yes, sana nga, ideally, we discuss issues muna and all, but we don't really have much time because, alam mo, sa Pilipinas, meron pa tinatawag silang ghost month. So, yung August daw, bawal daw diyang mag-anunsyo. So, that leaves you only with September, 1 month before the filing. Paano ka mag-organize ng makinarya all the way to the provinces kung mahirap mag-organize kung wala kang pangalan na isinusulong. And that's part of the reality in Philippine politics. So, we truly understand that. We debate about this and not all agree, but yung the timing kailan. Alam mo, Sito, yung sabi nila by mid-July, lalabas yung surveys, the surveys. Yan yung...
Naniniwala pa ba kayo doon?
Wala tayong other basis, Sito, na titingnan natin ng pulso ng bayan.
Okay, ganito na lang, Brother Armin. No? Allow me to have a quick break for some reminder. And then when we come back, I want to ask you those things because it seems that we are opening an alternative door that makes more sense. We'll go for a quick break. When we return, let's pick the brains of Brother Armin Luistro and the Sambayan here on Agenda.
Okay.
Welcome back to the program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, and you are watching us via Cignal TV channels 8 and 250. And you can also watch us via facebook.com/OneNewsPH. Let's bring back Brother Armin Luistro, isang bayan convenor and former Secretary of Education. Brother Armin, you mentioned that you made the statement, you are not a political party. And okay, so let's be clear about that because that in itself has been confusing to some people. If you are not a political party, then what are you?
It's really a coalition of democratic forces among whom are political parties. No? So, hindi naman official, pero ang mamamayang liberal, which is actually the citizens' arm of the Liberal Party, is very much a part of us. No? Uh, and other groups, no? Other groups that are actually political parties. The Binay Camp, una, is also part of us, not as a political party, but their citizens' arm. No? So we really are, I think the best analogy, Cito, for us is we open the tent wide and allow all of these different views, political parties, to actually dialogue with NGOs and church-based organizations. Our two big coalitions are Every Woman, which is different organizations all over the country, plus nagkaisang labor coalition. Iba-ibang grupo to, pero traditionally, paano ba pumipili ng kandidato? A political party does their own system and process. No? So it's really run by politicos. Yung difference with us is we bring to dialogue different groups, church, NGOs, and political parties, and we discuss what would be best for the nation. So,
Okay.
hindi ito isang political party na klarong-klaro yung sistema. So, pinag-uusapan and things really are evolving.
Well, the Sambayan has rolled out their list of nominees, and the reaction was either extremely bored or extremely doubtful. Some have even gone to the extent of saying, "Yan ba?" Pare-pareho rin sila. Some of them have skeletons in their closet. Some of them belong to political dynasty. Some of them have blood in their hands, etc. Kumbaga, kung hahanapan natin ng criticism, it doesn't take a lot of effort to criticize. Now, what has this made the conveners realize? Because I'm sure natauhan kayo or medyo napaisip kayo regarding the reaction of many camps regarding the nominees.
Well, number one, hindi pa ito yung final list. So, when people ask us, bakit wala dito si X? Ang tanong namin, teka, wala pong nag-nominate sa kanila. And in fact, we invite them to actually bring out names, no, that they feel should be there. No? Secondly, some of them actually challenge us and say, bakit yung isa naman nandyan? Our process will require, after publication of the nominees list, a wide consultation where people and members of Sambayan can actually bring out different data, facts about these people so that we can clean up the list. And dyan papasok yung responsibility ng ating mga kababayan na tulungan kami na linisin yung listahan.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now, why did you not include senatorial candidates and even congressional candidates? Kasi parang most people are wondering, ba't puro na lang presidente, vice president, wala naman nagagawa yung mga yan.
Tama. ang target ng isang bayan, medyo masyadong malawak na kung isama yung Kongreso. Pero ang target ng isang bayan is to come up with a full slate all the way to 12 senators. No? Pero, and this is in our dialogue with the political parties naman, sabi nila, brother, yung pag ilista mo yung mga kandidato, even the Vice President, hindi ka pwedeng mag-umpisa ng pagpapangalan until you're able to identify who the President is. So sabi ng political party sa amin, first, you must identify sino yung consensus, sana consensus ng isang bayan na presidente. And then you bring in this personality to discuss sino yung vice president that he or she can work with, sino yung kanyang senatorial state, because dapat meron siyang malaking papel sa pagpili at pakikipag-usap sa iba-ibang grupo. So, yes, that's
But brother Armin, you seem to have jumped the gun from president and then choosing senatorial candidates. In other countries, I know that when they choose a president, they already ask the president, who generally belongs to a political party, who's your cabinet? Kasi parang, like in the Philippines, you may have a strong president, but if you have a cabinet full of idiots, it's not going to help.
Tama. Ano lang, only because yung cabinet, wala naman siyang deadline na magfa-file sa October. So, yung tingin namin, mas may lead time yung presidente na makipag-usap at pumili ng magandang cabinet. Yung sa cabinet, ang iniisip namin, hindi naman kailangang i-fill up yung lahat. No? We were thinking of around 10 key cabinet positions, the most important departments. Pero sabi namin, siguro pagka nakapag-file na yan sila ng after October, mas madali-dali ng pag-usapan kung sino yung pwede sa cabinet.
Okay, now, have you received commitment, or are you in a covenant with financial backers? Kasi you can have all the candidates, all the best men, the best men and the best women in the nation, but if they don't have one Filipino centavo, sorry na lang, magkita na lang tayo sa kanto at doon tayo mamulitika. Meron na bang matapang na nagsabing, Brother Armin, ako naniniwala sa patakaran at prinsipyo ng samahan nyo, tataya ako dyan ng ilang bilyon.
Cito, siguro being a non-politician, this is the real big dilemma for me. Yung parang, di ba gusto nating linisin yung political process na sana pera hindi siya yung magdi-decide kung sino. But the more I sit down with the political parties and those in the know, the more I realize talaga palang hindi naman pwede na walang makinarya, walang pera na magsusulong sa mabubuting aspirations, di ba?
Yes.
So, the answer to your very difficult question is no. And I think that is part of the cautiousness of the business sector. The business sector, I think, will be very, very cautious in saying and in investing on good candidates. Pero, Sito, pag pinapanood ko at tinitingnan ko ano nangyari sa Amerika, parang ganun yata yung naging deciding point when the business sector started to say, well, we will not attack Trump, pero we will put our money where our mouth is very discreetly and support the opposite camp. Medyo hindi pa yan nangyayari sa Pilipinas. Sabi sa amin nung ibang
are you actually hoping that there will be a turnaround? Because if you study the past few years, Brother Armin, the strategy or the tactic that the Duterte administration applied or developed as they went along was in the first 2 years, ginulpi nila, sinindak nila, tinakot nila ang business and even media. And then in the next 2 years, they basically opened the doors to business to the point where business is now just grabbing anything and everything and engaging with government on projects. So it's become from a disaster to a honeymoon. And, it's kind of hard to convince businessmen hey, if you join with us, there will be even better times. are you even promising that to the business sector? That with the direction of Isang Bayan, it will be better times for business.
Yes, but we're actually doing that upon the request of most of the business, those in the business community, very discreetly and quietly, for the same reasons that you earlier mentioned. Pero ang sabi sa amin, and even among the business sector, ang kalakaran daw dyan, Sito, is hindi naman sila nagzi-zero. Ang talagang the caution that they play is lahat tinatayaan.
Ang laro ng mga negosyante, sungka. Lahat nilalagyan ng bato. Okay. Anyway, last question ko na lang, Brother Armin, because I'm out of time. But how deep or how intense are the discussion with Leni Robredo, the Vice President, regarding being the principal candidate of Isang Bayan? Because parang she's being visible, she's being vocal, and she's making sense. But parang, well, I hate to be sexist or, such traditionalist. A woman is entitled to keep her options. Parang, ano ba ito? Paano ba na kinakalalabasan ng ligawan na yan?
Well, very objectively, Sito, none of the candidates, whether opposition, independent, or the incumbent, have actually declared. And I think that's the reality na yung in Philippine politics, puro last minute, kasi tinatansya niya yan eh. Kung sino ba yung tatakbo sa kabila, sino ba yung makakalaban ko. Pangalawa, there is this phenomenon, even during the last presidential elections, na kahit na nakapag-file na, may substitution pa. And people realize that minsan the game is not whether I'm winnable, but about whether yung bang aking kalaban ay kaya kong talunin. So, lahat naghihintay sa last minute. And maybe this is only true in Philippine politics. So,
okay.
It's not only Leni who has not declared. Lahat sila naninimbang, naghihintay.
Well, ako lang, I guess I can end our wonderful exchange this morning, Brother Armin, with a, parang paraphrasing a biblical lesson. For our battle is not against the flesh. Hindi kandidato ang kalaban ninyo. Ang kalaban ninyo, pondo, the powers of the heavenlies, yung mga endorsers, etc., yung mga makinarya, yun ang kalaban nyo. Hindi, kasi kung kandidato lang, tabla-tabla naman yan. Thank you very much, Brother Armin. And
wonderful conversation. Salamat, Cito.
have a great day and more power to you, Brother Armin. Thank you very much. Yan po, si Brother Armin Luistro, convenor, Isang Bayan, and nadinig nyo naman yung kanyang mga explanations. And I'm sorry if some of you might get the impression, is she pro? Is she against it? No. I'm a journalist. I am a broadcaster. I have to ask the good questions, the nasty questions, but most of these questions are your questions. Okay, let's go to our next guest, a favorite of agenda, Dr. Rontgene Solante, head of the Infectious Diseases Department of San Lazaro Hospital, para mapag-usapan natin itong face shield na ito. Doc Rontgene, good morning to you, sir.
Hi, Sir Cito. Good morning. And good morning also to our viewers.
Okay, and I want to start our conversation regarding the numerous suggestions from different people to remove the face shield. And their perspective is, number one, it would seem, or at least that's the impression, that we're the only country who has applied a rule or made a rule for the wearing of face shields, which is only used for surgery, for emergencies, etc., etc. Parang ang punto nila, hindi naman normal yung paggamit ng face shield. Now, ano ba ang reaction mo dyan, Dr. Rontgene, na sabi nga ni Senator Bong Revilla, kung pwede lang, alisin na yung face shield na yan kasi dagdag gastos and in many places, tinataas naman.
Yeah, unang-una, no, merong benefit ang face shield at meron talagang purpose bakit tayo nagfe-face shield. It started with the data with influenza before, no? Yung nag-pandemic ang influenza, that if you wear face shield, it can shield you from the virus, especially yung mga droplet. Okay, so it's an added protection aside from having the face mask. Second is that when you have a face shield also, and then you have the face mask, yung virus particles, especially if you are in a place na hindi mo ma-practice yung physical distance, will be the one that will shield your face mask from getting contaminated directly from the droplet. That's the second. And the third benefit here is that although the risk in terms of eye penetration of the virus is low, but that's an added protection because if you wear the face shield, it will also protect your eyes. No, so those are the important benefits. Now I would like to give you this another data. It was conducted in, I think, in India, and it was published in Lancet. No, when healthcare workers were going around for contact tracing, before they were wearing the face shield, there were a lot of them got the infection. And then after they wear the face shield, zero, none of them got the infection. So that's the benefit. That's the rationale why that in a pandemic, although in hospitals we're using face shield because we are in direct contact with patients, no. But if you are in a pandemic, your risk may also be as high as comparable to that of the community because we are using face shield to protect people in the community aside from wearing the face mask.
Okay, now, Doc Rontgene, I have to go on to the other side. Okay, now, their argument is number one, the face shield is used primarily in confined spaces where the air circulation is restricted and it is in highly infectious situations, like in an operation, in consulting with an infected person, or even yung mga contact tracers na sinasabi nyo, kanya sila mas mataas ang infection kasi kumbaga pumunta ka na kung saan doon nagbabarilan talaga and not in a general population. Now, some people say face shields are also bad, could complicate breathing problems, especially for those who, like me, have COPD, the asthmatic, the aged, etc. Ano masasabi niyo dyan? What's your reaction to that?
Well, in terms of appropriateness, kung saan talaga mas tugma na isusot ang face shield, I agree with you on that, no? Because titingnan natin kung saan talaga ang higher risk, especially for the droplet transmission. Not much with the airborne transmission, no? Kasi ang benefit talaga ng face shield is the direct droplet transmission coming from an infected individual, and then you have that shield, no? So yeah, tama ka, in closed spaces, and probably we can modify the use of the face shield, not necessarily every situation, no?
Kumbaga public markets, public transportation,
Yes.
inside buildings na mga restaurants or I mean not restaurant, paano ka kakain naman? Okay, pwede ka naman kumain face shield, alisin mo lang yung face mask mo.
Yes, tama ka, ganun. No, siguro we can modify on that, but I'm not I don't believe that we need to totally phase out the wearing of the face shield.
Oh, kasi ako personally, medyo parang sabi ko, hello, may mask na ako, may salamin pa ako, tapos magpe-face shield ako, di nagkaduling-duling na ako. So, yung mga ganong concern, no? Because this is eye protection as well. And if I have the face mask, then it's all right. But has there been any test, Doc Rontgene, on good quality or appropriate face shields? Kasi parang yung ibang yung nakaapat na version na ako eh. Yung unang version, pagkaraan, yung pinaka-common ba, yung nasa box na mahaba, bakaraan isang linggo, tumutupi na. And then, nasasakal na yung mukha mo. And then, another one, yung akala mo, astronaut ka. hindi ka naman makahinga, etc. And then finally, I got something that seems to be working. Has there been any test done or kahit na parang naobserbahan ba ninyo what kind of face shields work and what don't work?
Yeah, ang ginagamit talaga namin sa hospital is really the plastic, the hard plastic, no?
Hmm.
Importante yung size at saka yung specification kung ano yon, no? It should be up here in the forehead and then ito sa chin. And then it should also cover here from ear to ear yan para at least meron ka talagang full covering in case na meron droplet, no? Because ang kadalasan kasing mga face shield ngayon, minsan may face shield ka makita hanggang dito lang and then dito sa ilong, no? So that will not be effective. Minsan naman hanggang dito pero cover dito, pero yung dito sa mata mo talagang may na-expose pa rin. So there really wala kasi tayong nagagawa pa na talagang specification, no? Ang sinasabi lang basta mag-face shield lang. So that's why there are mga enterprising people na maski hindi naman ganito ka ideal yung face shield, basta as long as you're wearing that, so siguro we need to revisit it, no? But ang punto ko lang, napaka-importante pa rin ang face shield, especially at this point in time na mataas pa rin ang mga kaso in the community.
Okay, so you're open to revising where the face shields must be required and where face shields can be either put in a bag or put on the head. Kasi katulad yung mga naglalakad sa barangay, open space naman, wala namang masyadong tao, wala nakakasalubong at naka-face mask, siguro sa mga ganon, hindi na. Pero transport, confined spaces, and yung mga poor circulation. Okay. Now, Doc Rontgene, ano naman ang reaction mo? What's your reaction to the current state? Kamusta ba dyan sa San Lazaro? Are you experiencing better than normal? Because yung mga nai-interview namin, sinasabi parang hindi pa safe eh.
Well, ang nangyari ngayon, talagang meron pa rin kaming mga kaso na admitted for COVID, no? Talagang very drastic lang talaga yung pagbaba, no? Because before we handled around 130 to 140 cases, no? Talagang most of them are critical and severe. Ngayon, our census has really gone down, like 30 to 40 patients na mga COVID positive. So that's quite a good nakakapahinga na kami ng na hindi na masyadong toxic. But again, when you are managing 30, 40 cases, that's still a lot despite the fact na yung sinasabi nila na totoo yun na hindi talaga pa zero or anything na talagang drastically or significantly low.
Okay, if you don't mind, let's go for a quick break, Doc Rontgene, and when we come back, pag-usapan natin yung mga outside Metro Manila cases and what they can do. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Please stick around. Welcome back to the program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, and you are watching us via Cignal TV, channels 8 and 250. Our time is 8:50 in the morning, and for those watching us on the replay, welcome to the program. Now, let's bring back Dr. Rontgene Solante, Department Head for Infectious Diseases of the San Lazaro Hospital. Linawin ko lang po, mga kaibigan, yung mga nag-endorse po or nagsasabi pong dapat alisin na ang face shield is Senator Ramon Bong Revilla, Manila City Mayor Isko Moreno, Anak Kalusugan Congressman Mike Defensor, and even the World Health Organization does not recommend its use as a protection against COVID-19. And that doesn't mean they're saying don't. That doesn't mean they're saying no. They just have not made any recommendation. Kung mga wala silang sinasabi. Now, Dr. Rontgene, you are in the city of Manila, yung San Lazaro. Napabalita actually last night. Yung bang how was it described? Para raw may blockbuster movie sa Channel 7 ko yata napanood yun. Yung pila, the line for vaccination, they were vaccinating 2,000 for a day, and I think there was twice that. And people were saying, paano na nangyari sa social distancing, risk of infection, etc. What are your suggestions to improve on that?
Yeah, I think importante ngayon, no? Kasi unang-una, it's good news na marami nang nagka-interesado sa bakuna. And I think it's a realization among us people na napaka-importante ang bakuna para naman tayo maging normal, no? In due time na mataas na ang magiging community na immunity, no? But in a way, siguro to manage this na mas marami ng tao ngayon pumupunta sa mga vaccination centers, siguro isang paraan dyan is to really increase the number of vaccination centers in the LGU para hindi naman magkukumpulan doon sa isang vaccination center, no? The other thing is, if that's not possible, then they should be making a vaccination center that is really very big to accommodate between 2,000 or 3,000 in one day, just to make sure na talagang ma-maintain natin yung physical distance at saka yung other important health protocols.
Okay, now you mentioned the word LGU. I think the biggest headache of the Department of Health are the local government units outside of Luzon. To be specific, to be even more accurate, yung nasa Mindanao, which primarily is Davao and Tagum City and Dumaguete, medyo malala na ang outbreak doon or number of cases. What advice can you give them? Although medyo ngayon, pag nagbigay ka ng advice to sa mga mayors doon, parang naiirita sila. But you are a doctor, you are department head for infectious diseases. What can they do to stem the tide?
Well, ang una ko dito, Sito, no, being a doctor, it's really to save people who are infected at higher risk of mortality. So dapat and these are ito yung pinaka-priority natin when we had the search, that for those who really needs to be admitted, no, kagaya nung nangangailangan na ng oxygen, then they really have to go to the hospital. And the hospital should also be ready with this type of surge of cases, no? And like what we have experienced before in San Lazaro, no? We increase our capacity. So hindi lang yung kung ano man yung room na allotted sa'yo, you can convert the ward to a big intensive care unit or a big critical care unit just to admit all those that really needs the care, especially the oxygen, no? Importante rin yung mga doctors in terms of communicating with their patients in terms of mga telemedicine, teleconsult, no? So that they can be given a better advice on how to take care, especially for those who already have symptoms, mild. Because there are a lot of cases na na-experience natin before, especially yung mga high risk na they start with mild, 3 days, 4 days, bigla na lang naging severe, 7 days, 8 days. No? So it's important that there should be that mechanism also of telemedicine and teleconsult.
Yeah, but what about Doc Ronjin? Kasi I'm worried. No, I know that in that part of the country, they have easier access to all sorts of suggested medication. Yung galing sa China, yung galing kung saan-saan, and also the practice of indigenous or traditional medicine, yung sukob ba yun or something. Uh, what have you learned regarding that? Kasi up to now, may mga nag-aalok pa sa akin itong mga medicine na ito galing China. Sabi ko, tumigil nga kayo, nabakunahan na ako, tsaka lumayo lang kayo sa maraming tao. But what are your discoveries regarding these alternative solutions?
These alternative solutions doesn't work with this virus because we already have lots of this patient taking all of these mga prophylactic agents and they still develop severe. We have to stick to interventions that are science-based, that are really proven, that are effective. And one of that is really to reduce transmission and really follow the health protocol. Ang nangyayari kasi dito based on mga sinasabi din ng mga pasyente na when they are given that mga prophylaxis or those medications, ang tendency nila, lumuluwang din yung pagpalo nila sa face mask, face shield, including that of physical distance. No? So, meron silang ganong na, anyway, I'm taking this one. Anyway, I'm given this one. So I think I have enough immune system response to protect me against the virus. No, it's not. No, because as of now, even in advanced countries, no, they're still looking at medications that can really decrease the load of the virus that to be taken before the appearance of the symptoms.
Okay, so nakakasama pa. You actually have patients in San Lazaro who were already taking the Chinese medicine, the medicine for deworming, etc. And they were under the impression okay lang sila, mataas ang resistance. Yung pala tinumba. Marami ba yan?
Marami-rami na rin, no? Marami-rami na rin. Kaya lang hindi ko lang mabanggit kung ilan lahat, no? But siguro mga 30% of those na merong ganitong na-admit, meron talagang karanasan na before they were admitted, they were still at home, no? They're taking these medications. Pag nabalitaan nila na merong nagka-COVID sa isang family member, they will be taking these medications and yun ang nangyayari ngayon, kabit-kabit ang transmission even in the household. So, kailangan natin siguro we have to re-educate our people, no, na itong mga prophylaxis na to, it's okay to take them, but don't forget the physical distance. Don't forget to wear your face mask. And if you have symptoms, even if you're taking that medication, consult your doctor as soon as possible time. Don't just say na, baliwala tong sintomas dahil meron naman akong iniinom. Maraming ganyang nangyayari.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Rontgene. I think what you shared is the most important lesson for our viewers who are still not vaccinated kasi akala nila pag meron na sila ng mga magic potion, okay na sila. Thank you very much, Dr. Rontgene Solante.
Thank you, Cito, and stay safe also.
Okay, God bless you, sir. And that's Dr. Rontgene Solante. Alam niyo po, when we started the program, we quoted Jeremiah and where he said, cursed is the man who trusts in man. Huwag po nating iasa lahat sa tao yung ating solusyon. Let us learn to pray and be thankful, grateful for what we have. Lean on the Word of God so that it will bear fruit in your life. And please, mag-ingat po kayo. COVID is real and don't play around with all of these medicines and don't be too sensitive when people make suggestions to you. God bless all of you. Have a great day and join us tomorrow. That's Agenda for Today. I'm Cito Beltran, your host, and you are watching us via Cignal TV, channels 8 and 250. We are One News.